Bradford Cooke, CEO von Endeavour Silver, ist heute nach Hamburg gekommen und wir würden jetzt einmal über den Markt von Silber an sich sprechen und dann auch in die Company gehen. Viel Spaß! Okay, Bradford, so nice to see you here in Hamburg. Actually, would you be so kind giving investors in Germany and in Swiss and Austria introduction about how you see the silver market at the moment?
Absolutely, and thank you for having me on. Right now, the silver business is setting up for a very interesting 3-year outlook. We are just coming off of 3 years of falling silver supply. We've seen very consistent industrial demand. What went missing in the last few years, and the reason why the silver price has fallen to new lows over the recent years, was very simply the absence of investment demand, jewelry demand, coin and bar demand. All of the physical demand that we normally expect in a bull market went missing, and so the prices were depressed. However, very good signs in the last year that silver and gold are finally coming off of bottom, and I think we are seeing a resumption of investment demand. So very good time to be in the silver business.
Okay, as a contrarian investment opportunity, I guess. What do you think about the recent Fed decision not to keep raising the interest rates?
Well, of course, raising rates basically created investment competition for other asset classes, including gold and silver. And for the Fed to decide to hit the pause button on raising rates is basically good for other asset classes, including gold and silver.
Is it because it's inflationary?
Well, clearly, and gold and silver have a traditional role as a hedge against inflation. Inflation show up as consumer inflation going forward.
We just had lunch together and you talked about silver being not only a precious metal but also having a huge impact as an industrial metal. Can you elaborate on this?
Well, very much so, and really silver historically was the poor man's gold. It was considered to be money. It was coinage in China, India, Mexico, America, even going back several centuries here in Europe. The silver dollar was a very important currency for a period of time. But in the last 100 years, what we've seen is an explosion of research and development on new uses for silver in industrial applications. The reason, very simply, is that silver is the best known natural conductor of electricity and heat on the planet. And so we've seen literally an explosion of uses in electronic goods.
And you also explained a new field, a relatively new field, and a special field for coming silver demand.
Yes, so when I started Endeavour Silver in 2003, we were just in the early days of what I called first disruptive technology for silver demand. And that was the emergence not only of electronic goods, which use tiny amounts of silver on all their electronic contacts, so cell phones, laptops, TVs, cars, anything electronic uses silver. But we saw the emergence of China as a first world force. And so that was a nice double whammy to effectively launch this current cycle, financial cycle that we're in now. The second disruptive technology for silver came along about 9 years ago, and it was largely an R&D project for many years. We're talking about solar photovoltaic cells. But about 9-10 years ago, they started becoming more and more economic. And since that time, solar photovoltaics have been the fastest growing component of industrial demand. We are, however, looking at a third disruptive technology as we look forward for at least 2 decades. And most people could not name silver when they think of the electric car. They think of battery, they think of lithium and nickel and cobalt. But did you know that 55 million ounces of silver went into conventional cars last year? And did you know that the electric car is proposing to use up to double the amount of silver compared to the conventional car? If we believe any of the EV forecasts over the next 2 decades, it will become the fastest growing component of silver demand.
Really interesting. You also told the audience and myself about silver being kind of the little brother or sister of gold and following the gold moves and the cycles. How does silver perform? Let's say we will have another gold cycle coming. When do you think silver and the market will react to that?
Historically, including recent history, we know that silver is the poor man's gold. Gold moves first, silver follows. The relationship is not linear. So when you look at the 20-year chart for the gold-silver ratio, which is a measurement of the relationship with gold and silver, you'll see that it's been all over the map. We've had it as low as 16 to 1 in 1980, as high as 85 to 1 in recent months, and everywhere in between. So what do those mean? What is the value of the gold-silver ratio? It tells you where the turning points are in the financial cycle, in the precious metals cycle. And when the ratio gets to a high, it tells you that you are at the bottom of the cycle and ready to go again. End a bear market, start a bull market. When the opposite occurs, when the ratio gets lower and lower and lower, you're typically at the top of a cycle. It's time to get out.
So clear signal to get in now.
I think so. The ratio is telling us that in the last 6 to 12 months we've seen a bottoming of gold and silver. The ratio is still stuck above 80, but we know from recent history that silver will lag behind gold. People will start asking what's wrong with silver, and then with great volatility it will catch up to gold.
So the fundamentals speak for the precious metal. Let's talk about Endeavour Silver. As I told my audience in the introduction, one of the biggest pure silver producers in the world. So you can become a major producer, being a mid-tier now. Could you explain to investors new to the story what is Endeavour Silver, where are you located, the basic stuff?
Absolutely. Endeavour Silver is a company I founded 15 years ago. It was basically an idea with two guys and a few dollars of our own. We went to Mexico looking for strategic silver assets. Today we're a big board listed company on both Toronto and New York stock exchanges. We are a mid-tier producer with now 4 mines operating in Mexico, and we're proposing to build 2 more mines over the next 3 years in order to significantly expand our production and, interestingly enough, significantly reduce our costs. Both of the new mines are significantly lower on the cost curve compared to our existing mines. So we're very much a growth company in the silver business, and we fully expect Endeavour to become the next senior producer of silver.
And a special thing about Endeavour Silver is also you being one of the purest silver companies in the world.
Absolutely. Most silver producers, less than half of their production is silver. They rely on copper, lead, zinc, or gold to make up the balance of their production. We are basically 57% silver and 43% gold. So we're a primary silver producer and fully leveraged to the precious metals. That means that our stock actually has the highest beta, that is the leverage of our stock shares to the silver price in the entire sector.
Okay, and you have an impressive portfolio. So you currently are a producer. You are having some changes in the mines. You just recently or today had an announcement of a new opening of a mine, and you also have a good pipeline going. So let's first dig into the mining side.
Yeah. So the first 3 mines we considered our phase 1 growth between 2004 and 2012. Then we took a pause during the bear market of 2013 to 2018 to not grow our production, but we did go shopping, and we acquired what we felt were very attractive exploration projects for our development pipeline, and we purchased those projects at bear market prices, depressed prices. Very good for the company. Now, since 2018, we've been focusing on phase 2 growth, which is 3 new mines in 4 years. The 4th mine, we announced that it achieved commercial production today. That's we call that mine the El Compass mine. Terranera, mine number 5, we hope to receive board approval to commence construction this quarter, Q2 of 2019. With an 18-month construction period, we expect to see production by the end of 2020. And then our development team will move right to mine number 6, Parral, also in Mexico. And we hope to see that mine up and running in 2021-22. So 3 new mines in 3 years to become the fastest growing silver company in the space.
And one of those projects, I remember, is quite sizable and also being very low cost. So
yes, Terronera, mine number 5, has the potential to become both our largest and lowest cost mine. And we published some economic study last year that showed 5 million ounces per year for 10 years at an average cost, cash cost, that is a snapshot of the cost to operate on a daily basis, of only 15 cents per ounce of silver. And an all-in cost, a snapshot of to capture all of the costs of operating the company, of less than $2.
Less than $2, wow.
So it will become one of the lowest cost mines in the entire sector. Terronera will single-handedly take our consolidated costs to single digits, so below $10 per ounce for the entire company, and it would make us one of the most profitable companies in the space.
Yeah, this impressively shows that mining company and precious metals company can be a good business. So there is margin to get. Not only you clearly profit from investor sentiment coming back to the sector, but you don't really have to rely on that. So you can have a profitable business.
Oh, very much so. Very profitable. Yeah. And we're not relying on higher and higher silver prices. We know they're coming. But if you simply look at our profit margin, last year we had an average $16 price of silver. I think our all-in costs were approximately $15. That meant that our all-in profit margin was $1 per ounce. But with simply building El Compass and Terronera, we think we can get our costs down below 10. If we just assume the same $16 silver price, we're proposing to increase our profit margin from $1 to $7. Per ounce.
Yeah, per ounce. And let's see, let's have a look at your more longer-term pipeline. So you impressively showed that you don't have only a couple of years looking forward in your strategy. You really have a strategy for the long term. You're building pipeline. What's there?
Well, it's interesting that when you look at the entire silver mining sector, very, very few companies focus on discovery. Mostly if they want to replace reserves or grow their production, they need to buy something. And every single major silver company in recent years has bought something, either another company or an ore body. Endeavour, we chose to be the discoverer. So our entire business model has been using our money and our expertise to make new discoveries. That's how we were the fastest silver mining company in the 2004 to 2012 period. On the back of new discoveries. Phase 1 growth done, Phase 2 growth coming in the next 3 years. Phase 3 is already in the pipeline. We have a fantastic portfolio of world-class prospects in Chile. And Chile not only diversifies our political risk profile, it gives us an order of magnitude larger target in which to build our future.
Yeah, you told us about silver prospects over there, and also copper and gold. So
just a caution that these are early stage projects. They need to be drilled. There's certainly no guarantees that we'll make a world-class discovery, but the early indications are very, very strong.
Let's look at the capital structure. So what's your market cap at the moment? And maybe you could also elaborate about who invests in the story, what are your major shareholders?
Sure. So Endeavour has 131 million shares issued, trading at approximately $250 US. So that's about a $350 market cap. Quite small, but appropriate for a mid-tier. We are approximately 30% owned by institutional investors, and the balance are retail investors. One big index fund, the VanEck GDXJ index fund, owns 6.5% of the company. And we have one strategic shareholder, the largest silver mining company in the world, Fresnillo PLC, owns 2% of the company. Approximately 9 analysts cover the stock, and we're very strong financially. We have at this time no debt, very strong cash and working capital position.
Wonderful. Bradford, anything you would like to add?
Well, I think that in summary, one sentence description of Endeavour is that we have the best organic growth profile in the entire silver mining sector. And through simply the construction of our next 2 mines, we do expect to become the next senior silver producer.
Wonderful. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you.